Okay. We are officially live streaming on YouTube. So hello, everybody on YouTube. Welcome. We will begin momentarily. And thank you so much for your patience.
All right, so I'm going to kick things off today. My name's Adam Slavin, the building principal at the middle school. We are so thankful and blessed to have this opportunity today. Mr. David Tuck, Holocaust survivor, is going to be sharing his triumphant story with us again here at the middle school. We were just discussing the number of years that we've been able to partner with Mr. Tuck, and it's definitely been over 10 years. As I think about the opportunity that all of our students and at this time community members and families have today to hear Mr. Tuck's story, it's such a remarkable, it's such a special thing to be able to sit and listen to hear this story. And I think the number one word that I think of is I feel blessed. I truly feel blessed to be able to listen to this story. And selfishly for me, I will be hearing it again. And I look forward to being a part of this presentation every year that we're able to have Mr. Tuck. So I'm thankful to be part of the opportunity again today to listen to his triumphant story. And as I think back to really over the last year or two, I think about words like empathy, and I think about words like listening to one another, which I know all of our students and family members and community members will be doing today. And it's such an amazing thing to be able to hear this story. And again, I just feel blessed to be a part of it. And I know many of you will benefit from hearing this story as well today. I'd also like to thank the Holocaust Awareness Museum and Education Center for partnering with us today and putting on this amazing presentation. I hope all of you have a few takeaways from today and learn a lot. And Mr. Tuck, we are so thankful that you are able to join us once again with our middle schoolers virtually, obviously today. But thank you for your presence here in participation. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Ms. Sue Bush to provide a couple of words regarding our students and what they've been learning in our 8th grade curriculum.
All right, thank you, Mr. Slavin. This assembly is the culminating event of a Holocaust Memoir unit in which our 8th grade students read and discussed personal narratives of Holocaust victims, including Elie Wiesel, Anne Frank, Leon Layson, and Livia Bitten-Jackson. Our memoir unit's fundamental aims were to provide students with the opportunity to hear a range of voices from the Holocaust and to remind students of the power of their own voices in building unity, empathy, and social responsibility. On behalf of the entire 8th grade language arts team, Mrs. Nguyen, Mrs. Warner, Mr. Powers, Mrs. Della Valle, and myself, we are so thankful and fortunate to have the opportunity to hear Holocaust survivor David Tuck's voice today as reinforcement of the power of personal stories. I'd like now to introduce another member of our panel this morning, Ms. Angela Michael, who is an Upper Merion parent and community member, for a few additional opening words.
Thank you so much, and good morning, everyone. It's been an honor to be a part of this program and learn about David Tuck, whom in my eyes is a very courageous man. It takes a lot of courage to share about something so traumatic that's happened in one's past, but I've heard that we can overcome by sharing our testimonies, and sharing can help us to understand the impact of history on our society and the impact of history on human beings. So, sir, I say thank you. Studying the Holocaust, it invites us to reflect on fundamental themes of life and society and some of the impacts of common realities such as racism and discrimination and hatred. But to me, this is a great reminder that there is still so much work to do. And I just want to encourage the youth that are listening that um, it's okay to be kind to one another and to be accepting to each other. So I am very grateful to be a part of this panel, and I'm looking forward to hearing what Mr. Tuck has to say. Thank you.
All right, and with that, Jeff Quinn, Education Director at the Holocaust Awareness Museum and Education Center. We can't wait to hear more.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having us today. We are always excited to be part of the Upper Merion community. We have a wonderful presentation for you today. I wanted to start off by saying we will begin our presentation with a brief PowerPoint, which is going to be followed up by a presentation from Mr. Tuck, and then we will be having a Q&A session. For our Q&A session, we encourage our audience to use the Q&A function on Zoom, where you can submit your questions during the presentation. If you want to write them down, take some notes, it'd be greatly appreciated, and please just submit them at the end. I'm going to go ahead and do a screen share to go over our introductory PowerPoint before I hand it over to the man of the morning, Mr. David Tuck. So when we talk about the Holocaust, we're talking about the period from 1933 through 1945 in Nazi Germany and Nazi German occupied Europe. It's important to understand that the Holocaust is not something that just happened overnight. It grew and it evolved, and this was able to happen by swaying the minds and the opinions of the German citizens. And they would do so through the use of propaganda. One of the most popular forms was through holding these types of Nazi rallies that you see in this picture here. And one of the common themes that would constantly come up was something called the Jewish question, or what to do with the Jews of Europe. Under the Nazi regime, there was a series of systematic laws that were passed targeting Jewish people known as the Nuremberg laws, and they progressively became more and more worse for the Jews of Europe. One of these laws was that Jewish-owned businesses had to be identified as owned by Jews because there was a nationwide boycott on Jewish businesses. And under the occupation of the Nazis in Austria, which is what this picture is from in 1938, you can see a young boy who's also writing the word Jew on a storefront to identify it as owned by Jews. Another one of the more important Nuremberg laws was that Jews had to physically identify as Jews under the Nazi regime. So you can see here that these Polish Jews are forced to wear something called a Judenstern, or a Star of David, on the front and back of their clothing. Our guest David had a very similar experience to this, and he's going to tell you about it. David's story really begins in Lodz, which was a ghetto that was established by the Nazis in Poland. And this is an opportunity for you to see some pictures of what the ghetto looked like. David was here. He saw this sign that you can see in the lower picture that says Jewish Residential District Entrance Forbidden. The conditions of these ghettos were really cramped. They were terrible. There wasn't enough food or medicine that was distributed in them. So a lot of people, unfortunately, died due to malnutrition and sickness from easily preventable diseases if they had access to the appropriate medicine. Eventually, the Nazis would come up with this idea of the final solution, which was to eliminate the Jews of Europe. And they started off by targeting the very old, the very young, and the very sick. This picture was taken in 1942 of elderly Jews being taken to an extermination camp. The Nazis were able to move individuals from these ghettos in their homes through the use of the railway system, popularly through one of these cattle cars that you see here. Hundreds of people would be shoved into these cattle cars and taken to destinations which were unknown to them at the time. David has a similar experience to this in his story. This is the front gate to the infamous concentration camp Auschwitz, where Mr. Tuck is going to tell you about his experience there. He saw these front gates, which in German reads Arbeit macht frei, or work will set you free. David also went through a selection process, which is shown here. Individuals were separated by gender and they were asked a series of questions, their name, their age, a couple other additional questions as well, and they were told to go in one of two directions, the right or the left. One direction, they would be sent into the labor camp, like David was. The other direction, you would be told that you were going to be reunited with your family, but first you had to get a shower. In reality, these individuals were unfortunately killed in gas chambers at the concentration camps. In the concentration camps, as a prisoner, you no longer had a name. Your name was a prisoner number. And in Auschwitz, they would often tattoo the prisoner number on individuals because they had such a large volume of prisoners. This is the number tattoo that David received at Auschwitz, which he still has on his arm today, which reads 141631. This is an opportunity to see the living conditions when David is going to be talking about his experience. I want you to remember this image of these cramped bunks that the barracks themselves were very drafty, very cold during the winter, very hot during the summer, that there was little to no comfort. And as you can see, individuals here are forced to use bowls or plates as their pillows in the concentration camps. This is another picture of a concentration camp David spent time in Austria, Mauthausen. And we like to show this picture so you have an opportunity to see the uniforms that individuals were forced to wear in these concentration camps. They did not have color photography back then, but it is a blue and white striped uniform with a matching hat. We actually do have a uniform, a concentration camp uniform at our museum on display. This is actually a sub-camp of Mauthausen that David was forced to be at. It is called Gusen 2, and what you're looking at is actually the area where David was forced to work in an underground plane factory that was carved into the side of a mountain in Austria. It was at this place that David was liberated by the United States military. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to our very special guest and our close friend at the Holocaust Awareness Museum, Mr. David Tuck. So David, whenever you're ready, they are all yours.
Thank you. Thank you for listening. You almost gave everything away. But this was just the beginning. I was born in Poland. The population of Poland was 34 million. 10 million Jewish people were in Poland. I was born, my mother passed away 6 months later. My grandparents took me in, and I lived with the grandparents. All my life, I was asking myself, did I ever saw her face? And I was told, yes, after birth, you have to wait sometimes, and then you can see it. My father took off. He was in service. That's what I was told. He remarried, and I lived with my grandparents. They were religious people. He was a tailor. He was getting older already. So I lived with my grandma, my grandfather, the rest uncles. One of them went to Germany. The rest were living in Poland. And days went by. Tried to go out and play with kids. Because I had no mother, no brother, no sister. I was always an outsider, but I didn't give up. In playing soccer, the ball went my way, I kicked it, and I joined them. And time went by. I was getting education in Hebrew, in the Bible, study. This was the first thing. Then I got older. Then I went to school. Time went by. Every year I used to go to my uncle's to vacation. I'm already 5 years old. And my uncle said, somebody wants to see you. I said, who is this somebody? He said, when he comes in, he's going to tell you. He didn't want to tell me. And the time came, somebody knocked at the door, a man came in, and my uncle said, David, that's the man that wants to talk to you. And guess what? The man said, David, I'm your father. The first time I'm over 5 years old, I see my father the first time. And he said to me, look, your grandparents are getting older. Why don't you come and live with me? I started crying. I said, I want to live with my Bobby. And my uncle turns around, he said, David, if you don't like it, you can always come back. I agreed. I went with my father. I met my stepmother, and I had a sister, 2 sisters, and a brother. And then I lived with them. I was treated like an outsider, but I don't want to go in details. Time went by. And then my father, they lived in a small town. Not too many Jewish families were there. There was a war. Turned on the radio. I started to listen to the German language. I listened over and over again, Deutschland über alles. German over the whole world. The Germans gave us a yellow star, one at the front, one at the back. If I walked on the sidewalk and a German officer was approaching me, and if I didn't step down to the street, he would beat me up. It didn't happen because I just took off before they came to me. And time went by. One day, they came in and they said, it's an order. You have to pick up what you can, and you're going to go to a ghetto. The ghetto was Lodz, was a big city. We got there, and little by little, the people moved out. This was outside the town, until they filled up the ghetto. Then they told us, anybody speaks German, come over and sign up. At that time, the Jewish people took over. Excuse me. So my father and I came in, we signed up, and he looked at me as I was approaching. He asked, how old are you? I said, I'm going to be 8 years old. He said, 15. And then he said, from now on, you're going to be a mechanic. Meantime, he said, you're going to help us out here in the ghetto. They put me in an office, but they were giving out ration cards. The ration cards were full. Somebody needed ration. I took the ration cards and went there. And time went by, almost a year went by. The ghetto was full already. The people were getting sick. People were getting dying. And it was a terrible thing. Then they said, I got a note, you and your father and other people are going to go to another place. The other place was a big city, Posen. They put us in on a train. We wind up in Posen. There was a city stadium. They made from the stadium a camp. The camp, the bunk beds, there was straw. And people were 4 or 5 people on one floor, the other floor. And then they gave us a number. I had a number 176 in the camp, labor camp. Now I'm going to tell you how life was there in this camp. We didn't get any beating because it wasn't the SS day. They were just civilian Germans, party people. Every morning we used to wake up at 4 o'clock. Went to wash myself. I got a slice of bread and a coffee. Then I went to work. Then we got during daytime a soup. You have to take a dip to find something in the soup. And then at night we got another coffee and bread. Every to work. Even if I was a mechanic, but the place where I supposed to work wasn't ready yet. I went out to work. We were chopping the road and building a highway, an autobahn. I worked there. I got by. I came back to the camp. I got the same thing again. And every night, before I went to sleep, I looked in the sky and I said, God, let me see the light the next day. Then at 4 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock was closed up. 4 o'clock in the morning, you look back. And the same thing over and over and over and over again. I'm losing weight. I'm getting skinnier. We had roll calls every morning. I don't know if they counted everything, but that's what happened. And one day, the commander there asked anybody speaks German. Everybody raised a hand. And he was laughing because the Jewish language, the Yiddish, is almost like German. I was maybe 8 or 10 feet away from him. And I said, Commander, in German, that I speak Deutsch. I speak German. He looked around and he said, what's your number? When he said, what's your number? I got scared. I thought, oh no, because I opened my mouth. I gave him my number, 176. Couple of weeks went by. They called me. They said, you're going to take 10 boys, pick 10 boys, 20 boys. You're going to go to work. You're going to, I thought I'm going to be in the factory, a machine factory over there and everything. You're going to collect trash. The guard came, took us there, left us in the street in the corner. He said, 4 o'clock, I'm going to pick you up. I told the guys, that's one thing. If we find something, food, and everybody gets the same. If one gets less, one gets more, everything is same. This was going on for months. And one day, 4 o'clock, the guard came, and 3 boys are missing. I thought they run away. We were waiting for a while. The guard said, I have to go back. That's the row. We went back. We never find them. A couple of weeks went by. I got back to work. They were building a gallows for 3. The next day, I came home. The stadium was full with people. And I was surprised. Why that civilians here? The prisoners also? No. Now they brought in the 3 boys. I can see it today. They put them on chairs, put the noose around their neck. And now we're dealing with the SS. The SS man said, turns to the public, and he said, that's what's going to happen to you if you're not going to listen our orders for we give out. And they hung those 3 boys. For what? Because they went out and asking. This is just a lesson for them. And almost 2 years went by. I'm glad I can still walk and talk. And I still every night pray to God to let me see the light again. Now they picked up a passenger train. And we went to Auschwitz. The factory was ready. We wind up in Auschwitz. And you saw the entrance before. Arbeit mag vrij, if you work, you go free. The train went further to Birkenau. Everything was connected. We got off Birkenau. The train left. And I still remember I looked at the farther away and I saw women and children waiting there, men on one side. The women didn't know. They thought they're going to go to take a shower. I didn't even know. Meantime, they sent in some trucks. They put us on trucks, and a couple minutes later, I was in Auschwitz. Walked in Auschwitz. The SS was there. Took my name, everything, and asked questions. I said, I'm going to work as a mechanic. And then he said, keep going. Went further away. A guy there gave me a haircut. He cut my hair with a strip in the middle, just an empty strip. Then he said, what I'm doing now? He said, keep going further. Went further to open the door. There's a guy there. He gives me my number on my arm, 141631. Got the number, and then I said, what I'm doing now? He said, keep going. They gave us uniforms, blue and white, stripes. Gave us where to live in the barracks. And then the next day, everything started the same thing, the same hours, the same thing every day. Now I'm waiting. Then came my line, and the guy said, "What you doing? All the machines of everything is booked." He took me over to a place, and he said it was a block of steel. I'll never forget it. He said, "Go there and file it." I said to myself, "How can I file it? I'm a skinny boy, and I'm going to file it here." And across was an office, all the equipment, everything. That was the control room. And I see that one guy sitting. The guy, it was not a young guy anymore. It was a guy, civilian. I had the guts to walk over and knock at the door. He told me to come in, and I speak to him in German that I'm a mechanic and I would like to help you out here if I can. I didn't tell him that I'm working over there. He said, "Good." So he took me in there. And after a while, at least I didn't work hard. Was check the instrument, everything. Then I looked in the trash can and I see bread, a package. I took it, put it behind my shirt. That's the way I nibbled on it. Then came lunchtime and I found it again. He didn't say no. Anytime I went to the trash can, he looked out to the other side, to the window. He doesn't see it. I can never forget those things. He was a nice guy. And then one day, I made a mistake. I put it in a drawer. Somebody walks, and I submit a guard walks over. I said, "Open the drawer." I opened the drawer. He said, "What it is?" I said, "It's bread." Then he asked me, "Where did you get this white bread? This is not the camp." And I said, "I got it from my Czechoslovakia and from another country. There, people, some of them were getting packages, except the Jewish people. There were other ones from other countries." So he took my number. When I back to camp, they called my number. They put me behind electric wires, and this is 6 o'clock. I didn't get nothing to eat. 9 o'clock, they opened it. They told me to go to the barrack. I went to the barrack. There was nothing to eat. And everybody asked me what happened, and I told them. And everything ready again in the morning. In the morning, they called my number. I went, put me behind again electric wires. I never forget. 6 o'clock, everybody left. The shift left. The guard came over with a gun, opened the gate, follow me. He opened the gate from camp. He started walking. I thought he's walking now. He's gonna kill me. Then I never forget. Then we stopped. Then he said, "You see this house? Go here." I went in. There's a man sitting, and this was the commander. And I said, "Commander, I have to go back to work. They need the guns." He looked up and he was laughing. And I never forget. He said, "Go back to work. Next time if I see you here, I hang you upside down." I thanked him and he walked out. At that time when I walked out, I said, "God watches out over me. My mother watches out over me." I went back to work. And then the American came, the American landed already in Europe. And after a year in Auschwitz, 3 years went by already. They're closing up Auschwitz. The Russian were coming over. Everybody wants to get to Hitler first. They put us in trains. They took us to Austria. They told us, I'm going to go to work there and build planes. They called them the Stukas at that time. I said, at least they're not going to kill us. We wind up in a place in Austria, in Mauthausen. It's a big camp. I don't know what they were doing, but people were wearing civilian clothing. We saw some stripes people, but I didn't know what happened here. And then they said, we have no place for you. We waited there until they made place. They took us in, they put us on the floor. I slept overnight. I got rid of the striped uniform they took away from us, put the regular clothing. And then they said, from you, you're going to go to another place. They gave me another number, and I don't even remember them. I think I have them written down somewhere. Now you're going to build planes. And the place, the camp is a small camp. And every night again, I looked in the place, I said, when it's ever going to stop? I don't know how long I'm going to be able to live. Please, God, let me see it. Let me see the light again. Time went by. I was building those planes. They told us what to do. And the camp was outside, and the factory was in the mountain. I thought you saw the mountain before. I was there working, building. They told us what to do, and we worked. And one morning, on May the 5th, 1945, there's a roll call. There were every day a roll call. There were more dead people kept in the barracks than living ones. But this time, the SS had machine guns next to them. I thought they're going to kill us. And they told us, you go back to the barracks and stay there. The American's going to be here sometimes. Anybody who walks out before, anytime walks in the camp, gets killed. So they left the camp and they put in all the guys in the army as guards. The American came. I don't remember the number of the soldiers over there. And they came in. They told us, "You're free, but you're not going to leave until we tell you." They were afraid for diseases. They were right. And they told us, "We're going to give you food. Don't fight for it. Everybody's going to get a box with food. But don't overeat. If you're going to overeat, you're going to die." And then they said, if anybody is sick, there's going to be an office, you have to come in and report it. I never forget, I got the box over there with the food. I opened the food. I see bread, white bread. I see cookies. The orange was there. Everything was there. And I said to myself, here I got something to eat. And he told me, don't overeat. I took the slice of bread, I took a bite, I put it on back, and I started counting till 20. I never forget it. And then I took another bite. That's what I was eating. Then I went in to the office, and I said, listen, I'm skin and bone. I don't feel good. He said, you want to stay here? Here it's going to be, the camp going to be an office right away here to treat you. Or you want to go to another camp, or you want to go, maybe you want to leave, go back home. I said, no, I don't want to go back home. He said, if you wanted to, you can go to Italy. There are people already from other camps. There are apartments there. They have doctors. They're going to treat you. I said, I want to go. I went outside Milan over there. I got there. After 4 or 5 months, I looked like a human being again. And then the time was maybe almost a year, and they said, what, we're going to sit here? Because we asked, we had papers made. The English army, they took care of us. We said, let's go to Paris, France. We went to France. How much time do I have, Jeff?
You still have plenty of time.
But then I went to France. I got off the train, and everybody was for himself. I looked at the guy, told me where to go. I went there, and there's an office. Went there, and I told him who I am. He said, we have people already here. We know. What do you want to do? I said, I want to stay in Paris. And then he said, if you want to stay here, you have to go to work. So there's a place there. Even the place, they told me now, even they're still there. They were selling beer and sandwiches. I said, I'm staying. They gave me a hotel. They gave me some money, everything. And then I was making some money. And they asked me, I asked if I have any family here. I said, I don't know. He said, give me the families. Get my father's, my mother's family. Then he called me up. A long time went by. They said, I have somebody. Somebody wants to see you. A lady wants to see you. I went there, to his office, and I asked the lady. The lady said, why don't you come with me to my apartment? We have something to eat, and we talk. I went. As we got in the room, she made a phone call. As we were eating, a young lady walked in and said, this is Marie. She was in the camp too, at Eintracht Hitler in the camp. They were making cloth over there. And we started talking, and I said, asked me if I'm going to stay in France. I said, no, I want to go to America. I don't want to, I want to out of Europe. Because you never know. Then I was talking to the girl. She told me she has a sister. The father passed away. 3 brothers. One brother survived. 3 brothers. I found out they were executed. Yes, in Paris. In Germany. Then we started dating, and I said, listen, I'm going to go to America. I don't get out of Europe. I signed up to America, and I want to go to America. Then She said, okay, I go with you. Then the American government said over there, she can't go like this. If she would be married, there's a different story. I went to Germany when I was waiting already for this office. We got married. She went back to Paris, sold everything from the apartment, and came over. Then we waited for a while. It was a camp. All the people who were supposed to go to America or leave Europe is in this camp. Then came the date. We got on the train. We went over to a boat. The boat took us 12 days before we came. First, we stopped in Canada, dropped off some people, and then I wind up in New York City. Wind up in New York City during the night. In the morning, I got off. There were people sitting from UNRWA, other organizations there in checking. But right away they said, yes, listen, first you have to get a job right away. They gave us an apartment where to live. They put me in a factory, men's clothing factory. And I said, this is not for me. The first thing what I did here about a dictionary, it didn't make any difference how many languages I spoke. I didn't speak English. But one thing I think I'm doing pretty good. I still have a problem. Spelling. Whoever came up with the spelling? You kids, you must have a problem too. It's still the best country. It's still free. I know there are problems. Young students, please, if somebody comes over and bullies you, don't answer, don't say a word. If you say a word, you're in trouble. You have no, if you don't answer, you don't say nothing, they leave you alone, they go back. Friends, listen, I have here a number on my arm. And anytime I look at my number, I don't sit there and dwell on it. If I had to dwell every day, I look at it, I have no life. For you, the same thing. If somebody doesn't like you, it's their problem, not yours. Don't live with hate. Because some student asked me, do you hate them? I said, what's good about it if I hate them? It happened, I'm alive. I'm speaking to people, I'm speaking all over. Our office, we Skyping to all Europe. I Skyped to Italy. I Skyped to even Australia now. I'm doing the best I can. Please remember, don't live with hate. And once in a while, listen to your parents. They were once your age too. Nobody's life is perfect. That's life. We have problems here now, but it's going to straighten out. Educate. With education, you can be anything you wanted to. Please remember those words. Don't live with hate. Because if you live with hate, there's no life. Even you have brothers and sisters, sometimes you don't get along. That's fine. I wish I had a sister or a brother. And if nothing is perfect in life, that's life. So with those words, finish. I want you to please ask questions. Don't be bashful. I will do everything I can to answer. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, David, for taking the time to speak with our students and the Upper Merion community today. What a wonderful and incredibly impactful story. At this time, I am going to direct our attendees to utilize the question and answer function to submit any questions that you have for David. And some of our panelists will go ahead and pull some of them to go ahead and ask David our questions. Or if there are any pre-prepared questions, we can go ahead and take those first.
All right, I will begin. Okay, I'm going to begin with this question, David. During your time in the ghettos, in the camps, what kept you motivated? What kept your hope alive?
You remember my upbringing, everything. I had no life. I wanted to live. I did everything I could to live. I was growing up, and here it would go again. I looked up in the sky sometimes. I said, God, why me? I didn't know my mother. I lived in a place later on. The family, I was treated differently. And here it's again. I hope it answers. Next, please.
All right, I do see a question in the chat. Why don't we check there? Okay, I think we've got some great questions here. First of all, we have a question about what happened to your grandparents, David, while you were in the concentration camps?
I don't know. I never knew. One of my uncles lived in Germany. He survived. There was another uncle survived also in the camp. They passed away. That's what I told her. I don't know. You know, sometimes the family didn't want to talk about it. I had a lot of cousins, a lot of everything.
Mm-hmm. All right, here's another question about current events right now. One student is asking, what is your opinion on what is going on in Israel right now?
What's going on in Israel?
Mm-hmm.
It's, I don't know, the Jewish people always have a luck. It's going to work out. It's a shame what happened. We have people here now in America that are coming in from other countries. That we had a problem this week. They were starting beating up Jewish people. Hey, you came to this country to be free, not to free to hurt somebody. Let's forget about it. Live in peace. That's all. Israel will take care of it. So it's a terrible thing, but that's what's happened.
All right.
Mr. Tuck, there's in our pre-prepared questions, I see one about, did you ever make an escape plan?
Did I escape?
Did you ever plan some sort of escape?
No. It's some of them telling stories, but when it has to do with Auschwitz, I don't. There were plenty of camps and plenty. Everybody has a different story. I told you what I know. If they escaped, if somebody was queer, it depends where they were located.
My goodness, there's so many good questions coming in.
It's okay.
This is terrific. Here's another one. Would you be surprised if something close to the Holocaust happened again?
Well, it's looked like they're doing it again. They want to annihilate Israel. It could happen, but they hope that never happen again. But we should stop it right away. If they stop the politicians, if they stop it, think about it, what to do. Don't blame somebody. Look, people killing each other for no reason at all. That's life.
All right, let's see if we can address a few more of these. Here's another. Was there a lot of tension between prisoners in the camp?
There was just when they, let's say, picture this. We ate the lunch. The containers, big containers. The people were fighting. They take the hand, put in the container, licked it out. That's what they were fighting. That's what we had in the camp. I didn't want it because you use more strength than take a lick of what's left over, but there's nothing to lick over there.
I see a question here. Why did he choose to tell the truth about his religion instead of lying or hiding?
Now, would you repeat it again?
Why did you choose to tell the truth about your religion instead of lying or hiding?
I played I played as a German because I had a German name too. I looked out here. The name. I had no choice. I was too young to do those things. Because where would I go? The Polish people would know right away.
Right. I see a couple of other questions. So you mentioned it a little bit, but how do you feel about your tattoo today when you see it? Does it bring up any sort of emotions?
Oh yeah, it brings up this, but I told you before, I don't live and sit there and look at it and dwell on it. It happened. Thank God I'm here. I'm speaking to Jeff. You know how many students I spoke already?
Yes. Last year you spoke to over 11,000 students, and you have spoken to every continent except for Antarctica at this point. Let's see. I do see a couple of really some fantastic questions. This is why we love speaking to Upper Merion, amongst other reasons.
Go ahead.
When you see pictures of the concentration camps, whether it's in history books or you see movies about the Holocaust, does it upset you at all?
No. I wanted to bring it up and show it. Maybe people are going to get smart, never happen again.
How did the Holocaust affect your faith, David?
I always prayed to God. I'm still living the faith. I know I'm born. That's life. I don't pick on nothing. It happened to me someplace. I went an Orthodox place. They had a dinner. Somebody told me there's a dinner, and I went there. It's not too far where I live here. I went in daytime to see what's going on over there. And the guy said, a lady took me there. And the lady said to him, that, he's a Holocaust survivor. As soon as she said he's a Holocaust survivor, they got together, and guess what? One of them, the rabbi, said, Dave, I want you to bless me. I said, what are you talking? I'm not the rabbi. I'm not the priest. He said, I don't care. And everybody had my hand and put on their heads. And I said, may God bless you all. That's all. It happened.
We have a lot of great questions. I just want to do a quick time check to see how much more time that we do have
So much
total.
time, as long as they don't complain, we talk.
Unfortunately, we are moving towards the time when we're going to need to wrap up. I know that I just want to check in with Mrs. Nguyen right now. I think she and a student are going to add one thing before we close.
Yeah, we have one question from a student in our class, and then we have another student who has prepared a little closing.
Okay.
So Mr. Tuck, one more question. You mentioned that you had to learn English, but what did you actually do to learn English?
About the dictionary, that's the first thing what I did.
Thank
You
you.
think I have an accent? I just sound like this.
You sound exactly like the dictionary.
Yeah.
We do have one student, Mr. Tuck, who has prepared something to say to you as our closing, okay?
Okay. And before we close, I'm gonna say something, so. Go ahead.
So Mr. Tuck, this is one of my students. His name is Nathan, and he wants to share something with you.
Dzień dobry.
In Polish, dzień dobry?
No, nie mówię po polsku.
Yeah.
Could you have him come a little bit closer to the camera so it'll be easier to hear?
Yeah, I do speak Polish.
Good. Where were you born? What city?
I wasn't born in Poland, but my parents were from Krosno. Krosno, my parents were from.
Я Мerion познайська, познайська. You speak Polish?
Tak, I do speak Polish.
All right, you're breaking up a little bit, Dave. I'm going to see if it's an issue with the connection while we get into the closing statements. Okay.
Yeah, what I want to finish my words there.
I know it's getting a little bit hard to hear you. I think it might be an issue that's going on with our phone connection. So I'm going to look into that, and then
I can hear you good.
Oh, there you go. I fixed it. Hooray!
Yeah.
Nathan, why don't you do it again, please?
Yeah, my parents were from Krosno, and I do speak fluently Polish.
Good. That's very good. Never give it up. It's okay to learn. If you can pick up another language, do it.
I possibly will. And thank you for visiting us today. Dziękuję.
Do widzenia.
Do widzenia.
Jeff?
Yep. So David has some closing statements, and then I'll go ahead and hand it off to our wonderful hosts.
Can I say it?
Yep.
In the presence of eyes which witness the slaughter, which saw the oppression that the heart cannot bear. As the heart once taught compassion until the day came to pass when it crushed human feeling. I have taken an oath to remember it all, to remember to the last generation, when degradation so cease, to its last, to its ending, lest from this we learn nothing. Thank you. God bless you all. We hope to see you next year again.
Thank you so much, David. Thank you to our wonderful hosts at Upper Merion. A big thank you to Angela, who always comes through to bring David to Upper Merion. We will see you next year in person. Absolutely. This was absolutely wonderful. David, an amazing job like always. So
okay,
inspiring.
thank you, Angela. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, the school.
Don't go
Thank you.
anywhere yet. Mr. Tuck, don't go anywhere yet. I have like 1 minute of comments and then I'm going to wrap this up because this is truly a long-term relationship that we've developed and we're so very grateful to our students who are listening, We know you're hungry. We're all hungry. But what I really, there's last year on May 5th, Mr. Tuck, David, celebrated 75 years from his liberation date. And guess where he was? He was with us. Now, Jeff, that was a different experience because we were all new in the Zoom world, but Mr. Tuck was with us on his 75th day of liberation. And when I think about you, David, I just.
Hello?
She froze. She'll come back.
What happened?
It looks like the program froze.
Okay. All right.
But, I just want to give it one more second, but thank you again, David. Hopefully, we can get reconnected. If not, then we'll go ahead and do a close to the program. I guess while we wait a little bit. Yep, we lost him. Okay. Thank you all so much who are still with us today. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a wonderful weekend. Have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend as well. And we will see you all next year. Take care. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.